Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence today. I want to talk a little bit about the political division that's kind of going on, not just in this country, but in every country that seems to be under the sun, right? So there's this idea of the left and the right. And it all came about long, long ago in a time long forgotten called the French Revolution, right? So when the French Revolution happened and Napoleon came in, I can't remember if he was already in for a wee bit, but the point was they did this big court hearing to sort of figure out what the future of the country was going to be. And they had the monarchists sat on the right side of this courtroom and the Republicans sat on the left side of this courtroom, right? And so the left side of this courtroom was advocating for progress and, you know, the abolition of the monarchy and foundation of a governmental republic and all that kind of stuff. And the right side of this courtroom was advocating for, you know, the keeping of the status quo and the maintaining of the monarchy and that kind of thing, right? And so these two sides of this one very outdated regional issue has sort of blown up into this overarching political spectrum that we place everything, every person and every kind of idea onto. If you see a politician, you can kind of place them on this political compass graph where you've got four quadrants. You've got liberal left on the bottom left, you've got liberal right on the bottom right, you've got authoritarian right on the upper right, and then you've got authoritarian left on the upper left, right? And these all are very, very differing political ideologies, but then politics is more than just what's under the scope of the spectrums of economic management and authority versus liberty. So we've got a lot of different visions for the future. Everyone has a different vision for the future, and we kind of made this political spectrum up a wee bit to sort of get people to kind of group together so that we can have a bit more of a singular, holistic vision for the future. So now, instead of having like 8 billion visions for the future, we've got 4, plus some weird ones that don't really fit in, plus some spirituality, you know, that kind of thing. So where I find issue with this is in the fact that it's very awkward to find where you are with all the little nuances of your mind and your worldview, to just place yourself on a spectrum, on a graph, like you're a pinpoint on a chart. So say you're someone who is Christian and you're very, you know, pro-life in terms of abortion. You think that abortion is murder, right? But at the same time, you're very much advocating for the erasing of racial injustice in society, right? Where are you on the political spectrum? Are you on the left? Are you on the right? Are you authoritarian or are you libertarian? I wouldn't be able to tell you, because those two things are on opposite sides, so they kind of cancel each other out, but you're not in the middle. You have two very strong opposing forces, but they shouldn't necessarily be opposing, because I don't see why it's, you know, contradictory to be pro-life and anti-racism or anti, like, you know, DEI or whatever the fuck it is these days, right? So you've already got, you know, all of your own little ideas and thoughts on every single issue that there is in the world, right? And I imagine that you have thousands, if not tens of thousands, of individual little opinions on things that make up the grand whole of who you are, right? And a lot of those things won't neatly fit themselves onto a graph, onto a chart, onto some kind of political fucking compass, right? And this is where I find a bit of an issue with the current state of political discourse, is that it feels like we're trying to place everyone into a certain category. We're trying to label people as like, you're left or you're right, or you're a libertarian, or you're a socialist, or you're a communist, or whatever, right? Like there's only like 8 things that you can be. There's only 8 ways of seeing the world, and you have to pick one of them, right? And it's just weird, because I think we all have, you know, days where we're maybe more right-wing than left-wing, or where we're more left-wing than right-wing. We have days where we think, oh, the government should just ban that, and we have other days where we're like, oh, stop taxing me, man. You know, like whenever I get, you know, my tax bill coming, I immediately become a libertarian for like a week. And then once I've paid all the taxes and stuff, and I'm getting a bit more money, and I immediately become more of a left-wing type. And then it just kind of works like that. You know, you're constantly ebbing and flowing. You're not just one thing for all of time. Like Bernie Sanders doesn't wake up in the exact, model of what you think Bernie Sanders does every single fucking day of his life, You might wake up and think, oh, was I wrong on that? And then you'll maybe wake up the day after that and go, actually, no, I was right. And then you might wake up the day after that and go, yeah, but, now I've got to support Joe Biden. Oh, well, that feels like selling out a wee bit. And then you'll wake up the day after and go, okay, let's just get it over with and support him because that's what needs to be done for the sake of the country, right? And I don't know, there's a lot of political division that's being sown throughout this country, the United Kingdom, but also in like every country, right? And I don't know where it particularly stems from. I think it stems from a few different things. One, I think the internet has a big part to play in this, in the fact that, now with social media and stuff, anyone can just talk to anyone. And, the biggest mentalists in the world can just have a discussion with one another and then figure out all that connects these certain mentalists and use that to leverage their platform, in terms of, I guess, ratings or views, or seeing how many people can engage with the way that they think and start to agree with them or add to their little discourse. It's all about the discourse and about trying to talk about stuff endlessly, but never solving anything. We're always going on, oh yeah, we need to stop corruption, oh, we need to sort out war, oh, we need to sort out this, oh, we need to sort out that. But we prefer to talk about it rather than actually get it done, because none of us particularly want to go into a war zone and start giving out food to starving children. None of us want to go fight in a fucking war and die for our country, really. I mean, yeah, people say it, but I don't think they actually want to. Like, I don't want to die for my country. Why? I like being alive, It's like, why would I do that? And then there's people that will disagree with that vehemently, and they would like die for their country in a heartbeat, and they'll probably think that I'm some kind of, I don't know, traitor or coward for not wanting to do that. And that's a different side of the political compass thing, where you're maybe over here, but you're not always over here. Maybe you're like that, you're patriotic and nationalistic and all that stuff, but at the same time, you're advocating for progress in social reform and social welfare state kind of thing. But at the same time, you want a nationalist country, but you want it to be politically progressive as well. So how do you meld all of those things together? Like, I've got various political opinions that kind of contradict each other. Not in the sense that they directly contradict, but in the sense that I've got some political opinions that are kind of part of the mouthpiece of the left, and I've got a couple that are part of the mouthpiece of the right, but I don't identify with them necessarily from the point of view of the mouthpiece, but from my own internal logic, which then has to be sort of melded and applied to these external political ideologies and forces that are just collations of people at the end of the day. I mean, all the left is just a load of people with blue hair, and all the right is a load of people with blonde hair and blue eyes. So what are we going to do in terms of unsowing the political division in this country? Because social media is one part of it. The general, fear-mongering of the news and stuff like that is another part of it. And then, government doesn't really help either, because it's always capitulating to pressure from outside forces, whether that be, taking bribes from corporate interests, whether that be, getting rid of someone because of media, pressure, whether that be from an internal party conflict, and there's two factions in the party, like there is in the Labour Party, for instance, where there's the more Corbynite sort of area of the Labour Party, and then there's more the Starmerite or the Blairite kind of region of the Labour Party, and they don't really get on, but yet they are one party, and they're the thing that are actually ruling the country at the moment. And the Conservatives are very similar, where they have the more, what's the guy that came after Thatcher? Him. Like that kind of Thatcherism, that's certainly one side of it, with Liz Truss and that coming in. Then you've got your more Cameronite kind of things, and then you've got like your Boris Johnson populism kind of thing going on, and it's all happening under the same umbrella of the Conservative Party. And similarly, another thing is happening under the umbrella term of the Labour Party. And they're similarly contradictory. It's like how during Brexit, the Conservatives were both advocating for Brexit and against it. David Cameron was advocating for Remain, and the Conservative Party was officially campaigning for Remain, and yet, significant prominent members of the Conservative Party as well, and a lot of them were advocating for the Leave Party. And so it seemed like the Conservative Party was kind of at odds with itself, because it's not necessarily an all-encompassing contradictory ideology, but there are so many little facets of the nuances of our world that you can't just lump them all into one big hill and just climb this hill and get to the top of it, because it would be like chucking like a load of garbage, like a bicycle and like a Ford Escort, and just a load of fucking dirt and mounds and stuff just into one big pile, and then climbing it and then being surprised when it all collapses under its own weight. There's so much to have an opinion on, there's so much to discuss, there's so much to think about, there's so much out there to reel you in and get you, agitated and annoyed and stuff like that. Like recently I've started getting annoyed because I've been on Facebook. I'm seeing a load of like pro-life fucking astroturfing campaigns coming from America, right? And I really despise that they're trying to regress us back into the past. And I don't like that. And it's getting me incensed about something that if I didn't know about this, I would probably be happier. But then if I didn't know about it and I was happier and I wasn't able to do something about it, then maybe these pro-life campaigns would still be here, and then they would actually take hold, and maybe, abortion would end up getting banned in this country. But at the same time, me knowing about it doesn't seem to me doing anything. It's not like I'm going out there like sorting out, abortion rights for everyone. I'm not doing that. I'm just sitting here yabbering on a fucking tree stump. So what does knowing about stuff and being politically aware add to things if you have no political power? Unless you're going to go out to protests every week, unless you're going to join some kind of Viva la Resistance or something, what is it you're actually meant to do? Because I made a video a little while ago about how it sort of feels like we're all becoming very complacent in how destitute our future seems, and that we need to do something. A lot of people were like, oh, it's not up to the individual, and they kind of joked about the fact that I said that we need to stand up and do something. They're like, oh yeah, you want us to stand up and do something? What exactly? Oh, this is just, social media influencer fucking garbage, wannabe revolutionary fucking bullshit, And I do understand that, because yeah, it is a little bit me just saying, well, we do have to do something, I don't know what. But at the same time, what's the point of being so politically aware if we're not going to do anything? If the point is the individual has no impact to the world around us, that we can't do anything. Why should we fucking bother being politically aware if we can't do anything? What's the point? I don't really know the answer to that. That's why I'm sort of saying that we need to try and do something. I have no idea what. But when I do say that, I think the first thing that comes to mind is help your local community. Do litter picking, go to your local litter picking group, stuff like that. Help clean the river, all that kind of stuff. Because you can make a change with that, with just you and your body and your mind. You can make a change with that. You can't sort out fucking Ukraine war. How are you going to do that with just you, with no money to fucking pay off a load of politicians or whatever? You can't do that. Where are you going to go? Fucking join those people they make documentaries about, where they go and immigrate into Ukraine so that they can fight for Ukraine and stuff like that. You're going to start doing that? No, you're not. You're just going to sit there on the internet spouting off, just like I do, right? And what is all of us sitting around spouting about stuff going to achieve? I don't know. I don't think it's going to do very much. And this is why I feel like, because it's so contradictory with regards to all of the messaging that's around us, right? Everything that's out there, on every different topic, it feels like we make up our own ideology based on all the information that we see, rather than all the information we see guiding us towards some kind of epiphany. And I'd like it to be the other way around, but then the world is so confusing at the moment, and probably always has been, that I don't know if that's entirely possible. So I understand why people just check out and they don't even bother. And part of me wants to as well, but I just physically can't. And I think, if I did, would I be happier? I'd be like, a dog looks happy all the time, and a dog knows fuck all about the world that's going on. So would it be kind of like that? I don't know. I don't have the answers, and I would never pretend to have all the answers. And if you think that I've got any of the answers, then stop thinking that, because I don't know much. I'm not like some kind of guru or something like that, where I can impart some like real like education onto you. I don't know. I know a bit of geopolitics just as a hobby, but nothing that like I could actually, you know, respectably tell onto you. So I don't know what to actually make of all this stuff going on. I'm just trying to figure it all out for myself. Just like you are, just like we all are. We're all trying to figure out the right answers, and we're all getting lost along the way. And we will eventually get past all of this, hopefully. You know, we will eventually sort out most of the issues. Just like how 10 years ago, you were probably worried about something that now you look back and you're like, what? Oh, that was such an easy thing to fix. Why was I ever so worried about it? But at the time, it felt like it was the end of the world. But now, with the perspective of context and the ability to see it from a top-down perspective, from the context of being in the future, or the present looking back at the past, you're able to see what the issue was. Like right now, it all feels so confusing, but you know, in 40 years, when the ITV2 documentary about today comes out, it will all make a lot more sense. And so, you know, even though it might seem really confusing now, it won't always feel this confusing. Maybe the future, when it's the present in the future, like when it's the year 2060, you sitting there in 2060, it will feel confusing, but the year 2025 won't feel that confusing anymore. It'll feel as simple as looking back in 1940 and going, oh, the Nazis were bad. It's like, yeah, we all know that. Well, I hope we all know that. And but back then, in the 1940s and the late 1930s, people probably felt just as confused as we do now, because the world seems so weird and scary, and what's going on with all these new like communists and fascists and all that stuff. What's going on? What do we make of all this? And we have to come up with an opinion whilst the events are still unfolding, you know? And now we're in the same kind of position. Not necessarily that fascism is rising, although I do think that it is. But if you disagree, it's not just about it being particular to fascism, it's about going into the unknown of the future, and how when you have the perspective of context from the point of view of the future, you'll be able to look back and go, oh yeah, it was actually quite simple. Those were the bad guys, those were the good guys. But now we have no idea who the good guys and the bad guys are. We see, oh, that person's good, that person's bad, but our minds might change after the fact. We don't know. We don't know, with the benefit of hindsight. And my own political ideology is a little bit, you know, contradictory, just like anyone's is. And it's about trying to smoothen out those contradictions and trying to figure out where I can make little, not sacrifices, but where I can sort of let an issue go, because actually now they kind of have a point about that and that kind of thing. You know, you're constantly changing yourself and figuring out what is right and what is wrong. And if you want to call that flip-flopping, that's fine, but I'm not a politician, so it doesn't matter. Flip-flopping is just like water off a duck's back wearing flip-flops. So, yeah, I suppose that's the video. Leave your comments in the description below about, you know, what do you make of this? Because I know on that video that I made, that was the last one about politics and stuff, I had a few people sort of go, normally I like your videos, but this one kind of missed the mark. So this is kind of addressing that, and like, you know, sometimes I am going to miss the mark, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to throw another dart. And maybe if it misses the dartboard, it will miss the dartboard, and eventually I'll realise I'm not very good at darts and I'll try something else. And that's fine. I like darts. Darts is quite fun. I played it in Turkey, but there was a big German shepherd that was lying on the floor in the way, and so you had to throw the dart over. I mean, we tried to shoo him out of the way, but he would just come back and just lie there again. He was quite cute. He was really fluffy. But yeah, I'm not very good at darts, actually. I lost 4 out of the 5 games. But the one game I did win, I did thrash him, so. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. Take care, love you all. And yeah, leave your thoughts about this, about the state of the world and the state of the future and where we're going and all that sort of stuff. So take care everybody, and bye-bye.
Happy with that one?